Hey friends, I am going to do a wrap up for March, but I think I'm going to break it up into two videos. March had a lot of readathon, well, not a lot, but two of my favorite readathons, Middle Grade March and the Irish readathon. And then there were also, I had a buddy read with Melinda at A Web of Stories related to her readathon for March on the Moors. And then I wanted to participate in Emily from Novelle Novels, her Bronte readathon, which I did not get to. And then in addition to the readathons, as I've talked about on my channel, which you've probably heard, that there were two prize lists that came out that I was trying to read some of them on, and that was the Women's Prize for Fiction long list and the Carol Shields Prize for Fiction long list. They both came out. I'm still in the midst of reading some of those. I will have a couple to review that I haven't reviewed yet. So anyway, all that to say, I'm breaking up my March wrap up into two videos. I didn't do a mid-month wrap up. I didn't do great on the Friday reading updates, and that's mainly just because my life has been really hectic with finding a place to move to, packing, all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna break it up into middle grade. I'm gonna tell you about my middle grade reads today, and then on Wednesday I will tell you about my adult reads. That's kind of how we're gonna do it. Now, one of the books that I was supposed to read for middle grade and should have read for middle grade March was The Yearling by Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, because this is on my 12 and 25 list. I've had this on my shelves for a long time. I have not read it because I know that there's animal death in here and I don't do well with that. And I heard from several of you when I put this on my TBR that it's great. Have a tissue box nearby. So I still want to get to this year, but I haven't yet. So that's the one specific one that I feel like, oh, I should have read that one. But I still had a lot of fun with my middle grade reading, and I've already surpassed. So last year, I only really had two middle grades that I really loved and finished the year with only two like best of middle grade books. And seeing that, my goal was to read more middle grade in 2025. And I've already found three new favorites. I had, I had 3 5 stars and 2 4 stars and 1 3 star. So let's talk about, so the 3-star book is actually, it was sort of like a short story. I don't even think I wrote it down yet. And it was for the Irish readathon too. And it was The Happy Prince by Oscar Wilde. I don't know if it's considered middle grade. It seemed like it was. It's a fairy tale that he wrote, and it's about a statue of a prince and a bird. Pretty short, quick listen. I enjoyed it. You know, it was one of those stories that has the lesson in the end kind of thing. But yeah, it was fine. It was 3 stars. So let's talk about the 4-star reads that I had. Now, the middle grade March hosts are Krista at Books and Jams, Katie from Life Between Words, and Amanda from On the Middle Shelf. And then they also have their middle grade March channel. The group reads were Secret Garden and a retelling of Secret Garden, which was Moon Garden, which I do have out from the library. I don't think I'll get to it before it's due back. But I did read The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I listened to this on audiobook, and it's about a little girl who goes to stay with an uncle, and there's a garden that no one has access to, and the story goes from there. It was a really sweet story. I feel like I did read it when I was a kid, but very little memory of it until I got into the story. And I do remember some of it. So it's about the little girl and kind of finding her place in the world and finding beauty where she doesn't think there is. She also makes friends with several people in the town and the service folks that kind of keep this castle running because the uncle is hardly ever there. Yeah, and it was a sweet story. It was a really sweet story. So I gave that 4 stars. And then I also read Rain Rain by Ann M. Martin. I think I did wrap this up in a vlog maybe that I'll link below. This is about a little girl, Rose, who has autism, and she really likes homonyms and prime numbers. She has a dog named Rain, and it's kind of about her in her school, how she interacts with the classmates, how they interact with her. Her relationship with her dad is not great. And there's kind of she gets along better with her uncle, basically. And then there's a storm that comes and her dog goes missing. So it's them trying to find Rain, the dog, and kind of the aftermath of that. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed the story. I'm a big Ann M. Martin fan. I didn't love it. I really liked it. So that's kind of my 4 star, is a really liked. 5 stars loved. And I think I didn't love the way it ended. There's 2 parts to how it ends. And I just didn't love it, but yeah, I do recommend it. It's a good middle grade read. So I read, let's go with this one first. So I'd heard about this book from Cozy Reader Kelly because it's a retelling of The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I can't remember. It's one of my favorites. Charlotte Perkins Gilman, yes. And then I also heard from Sue Jackson that it's a story about a little girl who has the same illness that Sue and I both have, that it was a good representation of, and that is Not Quite a Ghost by Anne Ursu. This is the story of, I am bad with names, Violet. Violet's the little girl, and she experiences a post-viral illness that is like myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is what I have. And it kind of goes through the age that she is, that her family's moving into a new house. She is kind of relegated to the attic bedroom that has this really strange wallpaper on it. It feels really run down, and it goes through kind of Violet's adjustment to this illness that comes out of nowhere. Don't know where it comes from, some virus, but the doctors weren't sure. She was testing negative for everything, which is kind of the way of ME. But just unbelievable exhaustion and fatigue where you can't really stand up for long periods of time. Your just limbs feel so heavy, and seeing this from a young girl's perspective it was just, you know, like, you don't want her to be dealing with these things, but it also shows that it can happen to anyone. They don't know a lot about ME and what causes it. So it kind of looks at Violet's experience with it through how her parents respond to her sister, her friends. Middle school is a really hard age. So there's definitely some friends that are great and some friends that are not so great. The doctors, and also Violet herself. She pushes herself through some PE classes, some other things that she has to do, and then is really sick afterwards. And that, again, aligns with myalgic encephalomyelitis. And then the mental health effects of having an illness that doctors don't believe, and there's really no treatment for it besides rest, which that's what you end up doing all the time. So I could go on and on about this. I did think about doing just a separate vlog for this. I will say I listened to the audiobook and then I bought a copy because that's how much I like it. I read it through listening to it, really focused in on the connection to myalgic encephalomyelitis, the illness, and not as much on the retelling of the yellow wallpaper. So I'd like to read it again to focus a little bit more on the similarities between this and the yellow wallpaper. So I may reread this at some point. I'm going to give myself a couple of months and we'll see how it goes. But 5 stars so far, probably my favorite book of the year, but we've got a close second to that, and that is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This is a nonfiction middle grade that I've had on my shelves for years and haven't read. And I'm mad at myself for not reading it, but I'm glad that I finally did. And this is basically Jacqueline's memoir in poem form, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It tells a story about her family. She is born in the South, raised in South Carolina in the early years of her life with her mom and dad and 2 older sisters, I think. And her mom eventually goes to New York. Some of the family has moved to New York and just kind of to try and find some different opportunities for her and the kids. And while she's up there, she ends up having another baby and comes back, gets the sisters, takes them up to New York as well. And just how Jacqueline grew up, found a love of writing. She's separated from her dad for a good bit of her life. And just she had some like an aunt she was really close to passed away, and she would go back in the summers to visit her grandparents in South Carolina, and seeing kind of them getting older, but also they encouraged her a lot with her writing. It was just so beautiful. I'm big into lyrical writing, as many people who know my reading style know, because I love literary fiction. And this was just amazing. And then I decided just one night, one random night. I don't even think I was packing. But I wanted to get to another one of Jamie Sumner's books. She wrote Summer of June, which I read last year or the year before. I can't remember. And at the time I gave it 4 stars, but I have no idea why I gave it 4 stars because I've remembered it as if it were a 5-star book. So I went back on GoodReads and changed it to a 5-star because I think about that book a lot. It's a great representation of anxiety in middle grade kids and how a parent responds to that, how schools respond to it. And so I just think it's a great representation of that. And then, so I decided to pick up another, and I actually had 3 Jamie Sumner books checked out from the library right now. I think I've hit an all-time high of books checked out from the library. I currently have 51 books checked out from the library. That includes, I'm pretty sure that includes my Libby books too, I think. But it could be physical books because I do have 2 large stacks of library books. Anyway, this time I decided to read Roll With It. This is about Ellie. Ellie has cerebral palsy, and she is in one school where she has another friend that has cerebral palsy. And the thing about cerebral palsy, well, with a lot of disabilities, is that how it looks for that person can be different. Like one person with cerebral palsy, such as Ellie, uses a wheelchair, and her friend in her school also has CP and uses, I think she says, a walker. And then she ends up, her grandparents are having, her grandfather is showing early signs of dementia, and her mom decides to go to her parents, Ellie's grandparents' house for a semester and help with the grandfather. Ellie doesn't want to do this because she has a best friend, has her life kind of totally figured out at her one school. So she goes, but she loves her grandfather. So she does go with her mom to help take care of the grandparent. And it's a really sweet story of her finding a new group of friends in the new town. Ellie really loves to bake, and she wants to enter a baking contest. So yeah, it's a really sweet story. I really liked the disability representation. I think the author she has a son with cerebral palsy. And yeah, I just really liked the story all around. I did listen to this on audiobook. It is the start of a series, which was one of the prompts for middle grade, was to read a book in a series. So this is that one. And I do hope to get to the next one in the series. So for the prompt, one of the prompts was to read a book written in the 1900s. So for that one, I did read The Secret Garden. Another prompt, like I said, was the start of a series. So I read that one. There was a prompt for flowers on the cover, which this wallpaper has flowers on the cover. And then there was one for three names for the author, and I'm counting Anne M. Martin because the M stands for something. And then what was the last one? Oh goodness. Travel, that was the other one. And Brown Girl Dreaming I read for travel because she does go back and forth from South Carolina to New York several times in the book. So I was able to make all of the books that I read work for the prompts, and it was really fun to have some new favorite books. And like I said, I will maybe do a dedicated book when I reread this, and I may reread The Yellow Wallpaper, which is one of my favorite short stories of all time. We'll see, coming up. Right now, I'm gonna focus on packing. I really appreciate you being here. Let me know in the comments below if you found a new favorite middle grade in March, and definitely subscribe. I will be back on Wednesday with the rest of what I read in March. And a spoiler alert, even counting these, I read 16 books. Can you believe that? I can't, because like I said, it's been a stressful month, but I did read 16 books. So check back with me on Wednesday. I hope y'all are doing well, and I will see you very soon. Bye.